Hello, welcome everyone to the replay and to our live plant chat, mushroom chat today on the history, folklore, and medicine of Reishi. Now I get to awkwardly sit and wait while Instagram notifies everyone, and I'll wait for Nikki. So the Latin name for Reishi is Ganoderma lucidum. Ganoderma lucidum. Wow, normally Nikki's bugging me because I'm late. Today I'm before Nikki. Well, I'm happy because now I get a chance to get rid of some of my jitters. I always get so jittery before these. Chair down. Hello, Matt, who's here. Foolish in Nature. We are going to be exploring some awesome folklore about this mushroom. Hi, Sammy. Go tell Nikki. Oh, there she is.
Go tell Nikki what?
That I'm live before you. You didn't get to tell me, where are you? Sorry. I just remembered I didn't close all my apps before going live.
Okay. That's what that was. I was like, oh no, is my internet bad?
No. My internet sucks here in this concrete building, so I have to make sure
Yeah.
Whew. I'm just giving myself a moment to breathe. Everyone's here, yay!
Hello, everybody.
I'm super grateful you are all joining us tonight. I was actually thinking I'm going to start off with a gratitude in effort of bringing myself to center and not rushing through this chat. So,
that's a good idea.
Today I'm feeling really grateful for the cold weather. It's been really mild this winter and it's been going down to minus 15, and while it's been really cold in the apartment, and I don't think it's been this cold since I've been in this apartment before, so I'm having to wear hat, mitt, scarf. I've got the electric heater going. I have emailed my landlord, but apparently this is normal. So yeah, I don't mind it. As soon as I step outside, I just feel like I'm at home in the cold. I don't know if that says something about my soul,
No,
but
it's so nice. It's so nice.
it is.
Yeah. I'm grateful for plants. Let me just tell you, I have been having crazy back and neck tension and pain, which is causing bad headaches and all the stuff. And my herb teacher, I did a consult with her, and she made a pain tincture for me, which has St. John's wort, lobelia, cramp bark, black cohosh, and what is the last one? Celandine, greater celandine. And literally took the tincture today, and I was I felt high. And the pain was gone within 5 minutes, and I felt so relaxed. It was amazing. Plants are amazing and powerful. That's just one of those instances where you just see how the medicine works right away, because most herbs take so long to work. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the herb we're talking about today can take a long time.
Exactly.
The mushroom we're talking about, which seems to be the general theme. I haven't studied much mushroom medicine, but when we talked about chaga, that came up, and now it's come up again with reishi. So I think mushrooms are definitely you take your time with them, is what I'm gathering. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start tonight off with a story. Also, I've got a new setup tonight.
I just was going to say.
I'm excited to listen to the replay and see how my sound is.
It sounds really good.
Good.
Yeah.
It really hurts my ears, so I'm excited to take it out and listen to yours, but yeah. So, reishi, let me get this, Ganoderma lucidum. So when I first saw the word lucidum, actually, how about, Nikki, can you type the Latin name while I talk?
Yeah.
Just so people can see what I'm like pulling out of the word. So Ganoderma derives from a Greek word meaning sheen. I meant to save a picture of Reishi beforehand, but if you've ever, the picture that I shared for this plant chat, you see this beautiful shiny mushroom, and Greek word Ganoderma deriving from meaning sheen. Lucidum is Latin for brightness, and I actually didn't expect that when I first read lucidum. I immediately was like, this is definitely like a psychoactive, some type of spiritual herb here. But then it said that. But once I dove into it further, it was like, oh yeah, lucidum definitely has another meaning here too. So in Japan, reishi means divine or 10,000-year-old mushroom, or sorry, 10,000-year mushroom. The Chinese call it ling zi, or tree of life mushroom. In Vietnam, it's called lin chi, supernatural mushroom. It's also called the mushroom of immortality, herb of spiritual potency, as reishi is a deep psychedelic. So here is my story I'm going to start with. And now this story was told through a course I took with Wild Rose College by Yarrow Willard. He went to China and he did a beautiful mushroom series. So I don't know if anyone here got to sign up for that as well, but I got to soak in a lot of awesome reishi facts from that course. And I got this awesome story from it. So it's called Spiritual Vegetable Meat. Once upon a time, there was a man in the village who's trying to be a governor, and he had taken the exam hundreds of times, but he kept failing. He kept trying so many times that the people in the town started calling him Mr. Ambition. Mr. Ambition was ambitious, and he was trying to be the best version of himself. So he finally gave up, and he said, you know what? I'm just going to go live with the monks. I'm going to become a monk. I'm going to become the best version of myself. No longer going to try to be this government official. So he went to the monastery and he decided he was going to be the best Taoist monk. He spent a year fasting, eating nothing but vegetables, but he started to get really thin. He looked in a reflective plate. And he was like, oh, I'm really not doing well. This is not the best version of myself. So he left the monk and he went back to the city and he started a construction company. And they were digging in a construction site, and his workers found this weird-looking substance. It was a giant-looking, meaty hand growing out of the ground. He looked at the meaty hand, and he was like, oh no, this is a bad omen. This building is going to fall down. Someone needs to get me a fortune teller. We got to figure out what this means. So the fortune teller came, and she said, oh yes, this is a bad omen. Well, what does it mean? What am I going to do about it? She said sometimes when we have a bad omen, we need to conquer our fears by eating it and by devouring the bad omen. He thought to himself, that's crazy. I don't know if I can do that. But after a couple days, he decided that the only way to conquer his fear was to devour this bad omen. So he picked up this giant meaty looking hand and he started to chew it. As he's chewing, he's thinking, oh, this tastes a little bitter. A little sweet. Actually tastes kind of good, so he ate the entire thing. Then pretty soon, all of his worries started to fade. His gray hair started to turn black. His face became very strong. He felt powerful again. He stood tall. So one day, a monk comes through town, and he sees the man and says, you look different from other men. Have you been doing something differently? And he thought, no. And the monk's like, did you eat anything weird? Well, the other day, there was this big hand growing in the construction site. And I ate it to remove my bad fortune. It must be that I have good fortune now. The Taoist monk took his pulse. He said, I think actually you ate a reishi mushroom. This is the herb of the immortals. Oh. Oh, we're good. This is the herb of the immortals. You are now an enlightened man. You must come with me to the Taoist monastery to become an enlightened monk. So with him the man went and never returned. He lived forever as an immortal in the Taoist monk's monastery with way up in the mountains, consuming lingxi, consuming reishi. The story here may be a fable, but it does tell the amazing history and magic and medicine behind reishi. Yay!
I like that. Who wrote that? Was that Yarrow Willard?
It's a like you can. There's different kind of versions of the story, but it's definitely like an old Chinese folktale of reishi.
Cool.
I just need to get a drink of water before I continue. So, has anyone here ever seen a reishi mushroom in the wild? Nikki, how have you ever seen a reishi mushroom in the wild? Have you came across them often?
No.
So that's something I did want to touch on before I dove into like too much is like reishi is sought after. It is this like, how did he not I know, right?
That was my question too.
But it's a fable. So when I pulled up a sustainability section on reishi, it said that reishi exists on 0.003% of trees that could host the reishi mushroom. So maple trees I know can host a reishi mushroom, but I didn't dive into the whole ecology of the mushroom. I don't know the right word.
What tree did you say?
Maple.
Okay. Because there's different species that grow on different trees.
Yes. Okay. That was what I was going to get into. So tonight we're talking about Ganoderma lucidum, which is it's the China reishi. And I don't know if this one would grow here. We have a ton of different reishis. Like there's this reishi that grows on, I meant to grab the word, that grows on hemlock trees. And those reishi, like they have
suge.
I thought it started with an L, or I guess lucidum starts with an L.
But I must UAG. Yeah.
I contacted my mushroom friend, Luke Eckstein, because he's always out in the woods gathering mushrooms. And I thought, who better to ask than a mushroom forager? What's your take on it? How often do you see reishi out in the woods? And he did say that like this one that we're talking about isn't common, but that one that grows on hemlock trees is, and that was about the extent of our conversation. So it's just something to keep in mind with any of the plants that we talk about. And Yarrow Willard actually does have a video up on YouTube. He visits a reishi farm in China, and this mushroom farm is out in the mountains, you know, I know it's definitely something I think about when I'm purchasing herbs or going to purchase herbs. I wonder, where did it come from? How did it grow? I may associate like a mushroom coming from China, like what is it growing in like the city and like in this building? Has it seen nature? And so the reishi that Wild Rose College Harmonic Arts dispensary sources is from this really beautiful farm that's growing the most potent, incredible reishi there is around. So go check out that YouTube video so you can see what that process is all about. And just consider that, like we're talking about this really awesome mushroom, and maybe you don't necessarily need to go out seeking reishi. You may come across it, and maybe that's like a little omen there for you. And maybe you don't need that medicine, and so you don't need to take it. And you can leave that to continue on with its life. And because we also have to remember that there's so much more going on underneath a mushroom. That is, what you see is not just the one mushroom, which I will dive into. So being a superior herb in ancient China, it's talked about of having use of to 4,000 years, but there's only 2,000 years of written scripture of it. They have an entire museum dedicated to reishi in China. It's called the Natural History of Reishi Museum. It's in Make sure I say it right. Nantong, China. And there's statues, paintings, scriptures, like literally every single thing in this museum has reishi mushrooms on it. It's beautiful. They have big, huge statues of ancient saints, and they're all holding different figures of reishi mushrooms. This mushroom just holds so much, they just hold it up so high in China. They consume billions of dollars of reishi in China annually. But also not to, like, I can't forget to mention that worldwide it's apparently been the most studied herb out there. Like, they've spent hundreds of billions of dollars on studying reishi. So that's also a fun rabbit hole you can dive down online, looking up all of the studies they've done. So Dr. Terry Willard, he from Wild Rose College, he's my teacher, so I'm currently taking an herbalist program with them, which is why I'm bringing them up a lot. He thought of it as like the original snake oil because of all the different uses he was being told he could use reishi for. And snake oil, I talked about that with echinacea, which was kind of a snake oil.
Literally.
I don't know if I need to explain what the snake oil is, but so the way he explains it is this mushroom grounds us. It deepens our connection to ourselves. It creates a greater coherence in our mind, body, and spirit. And reishi gets us out of our head and into our heart. And so he also told a story of when he went to the tropics and he met with a shaman. And he asked him what the medicinal uses of reishi were. Because reishi doesn't just grow it grows in the tropics as well. And he said that the mushroom was here before the jungle was here. It is a very old and wise mushroom. It knows every plant, tree, insect, and animal. It knows all of the jungle. It created the ground under the jungle. And so these mushrooms are huge. I think they're bigger than us because when you see it on a tree and it's got all of this other mycelium going on underneath the bark, which is the entire mushroom, I just was sitting back thinking about that, like, it's bigger than us. It's bigger than life. No. And so the shaman didn't understand when Dr. Terry was asking him, Dr. Terry, I felt funny when I was writing that, but I was like, there's no better way. When Terry, I don't think we're on first name basis. He was like, what do you mean by medicinal usage? He said, sometimes, just I'll repeat myself, we get all in our head. And the idea of reishi is it helps get you out of your head and into your heart. And when you feel like you're spinning, it helps calm you down. And mycelium breaks down organic material. It breaks down the leaves in the fall. It creates this beautiful, rich humus on the forest floor. And it creates a network of communication between the trees, and it's just such a significant part of the web of life. And when I think about taking that into my body, even like as a flower essence, as a tincture, a tea, consuming that as food, there's something powerful and magical there, especially when it has 4,000 years of use. And that is my chat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just took some of my pain tincture because I was like, I'm gonna be sitting for a while. And now I'm like, ooh, too calm for this. I was enjoying your storytelling, and then it ended abruptly. Okay, so you know what? There are some herbs out there that I think about, and there are herbs that I haven't looked into much. Like I have my plants and I have my medicines that I use regularly, and I know them very well. And reishi is not one of those. So usually with those kinds of plants, I get like really overwhelmed and scared and think they're super complicated. But as it turns out, reishi is not that complicated. And so, yeah, I just wanted to preface that. I'm sure there's a bunch of information I'm missing. So, and I do have to say my spiel. which is I'm not a doctor. And I barely have scratched the surface of my understanding of the human body. But I do know more than the average person. I'm not going to like completely discredit myself. I have been very much studying different bodily systems and chemistry and anatomy and stuff like that. So, like, you decide after hearing what I say if this plant is for you or this herb is for you, because some medicines are not for people. Not for people, not for certain people. And I think we get into this like thing of like Reishi's like in everything. It's like in those mushroom mixes people put in their coffee, like
It's like
Four
chaga.
Sigmatic. Yeah, it's like, and it's like you don't. Not everybody needs it. Like
Hey, but we're not
just
seeing it.
chill.
It's not in skincare yet.
Oh yeah, like I. That's what I just want to say. Just chill, everybody. Maybe take some reishi to chill. I don't know, and because I don't know. I'm gonna go off on a tangent now, but the mushroom thing, like just calm down with mushrooms, okay? That's my spiel.
Are you able to give us some, like, can you speak on at some point of like those immune like mushroom tinctures that are sold? Because I think people here do see them, and so we know what we're getting into and if we should even bother. That sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. You'll know by listening to the
Okay.
spiel or
Awesome.
the medicine part. Okay, first of all, always important to say what the constitution or the energy of the herb is. It's warming and drying. So if you are warm and dry constitution, this plant is not for you.
Not
Or
for
it could,
me.
or it could be. You would have to balance it out with other plants or medicines. Okay, first of all, reishi is an immunomodulator. And I'm going to get into a little bit of what immunomodulation means because it's very non-specific. You have herbs and medicines that boost the immune system, and then you have your immunomodulators. And I'm not sure if there's any plants or medicines that like depress the immune system only, but I don't know. So immunomodulation, what does it mean? So there's two different kinds of immune responses. There's an overactive immune system, and then there's an underactive immune system. So basically what I mean by immunomodulator, this medicine has antispasmodics in it, so everything's like loose. Yeah. So what I mean what I mean by immunomodulator is that it has like a very unique ability to increase immune activity when it's needed. So that means like enhancing monocytes and macrophages and helper T cells and B cells and T lymphocytes, blah, blah, blah. And then they also decrease immune activity. And that's in the case of hypersensitivity or autoimmune disorders. So when you have a decreased immune system or an underactive immune system would be someone with cancer, or it would be someone who's taking chemotherapy or some kind of drug that like suppresses their immune system. So that's basically chemotherapy. And then autoimmune, you have your disorders like lupus. And basically what autoimmune does is your own body recognizes your own cells as bad things, and then they start attacking it. So autoimmune is very bad. I have an autoimmune condition. It's called celiac disease. Yes, it is autoimmune. So my immune system's all messed up already. Yeah, it's fact. So your immune system is like your lymph nodes. And all those cells in there that I just mentioned, like T cells, B cells, lymphocytes, monocytes, etc., and they carry lymph fluid. And then lymph contains all the waste products of the immune system. Also, your bone marrow is part of the immune system. So there are 4 different ways that you can have an immune disorder. So you can be born with a weak immune system. So that's called primary immune deficiency. And then you can get a disease that weakens your immune system. That's called acquired immunodeficiency. And then you can have an immune disorder where your immune system is too active. So that's like something like allergies. So your histamine levels go up and go crazy and then start like making you sneeze and making your eyes water and causing inflammation widespread in your body. And then you can have an immune system that quote unquote turns against you, which is autoimmune disease. And I do want to say that like immune disorders cause widespread inflammation in the body. That's just like there's so many different types of inflammation and they cause all different kinds of inflammation, pain, swelling, like skin conditions. Eczema is an example of a hyperactive immune response. What else is there? Oh, and there's AIDS. That's a suppressed immune system. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say No, I want to talk about a little bit more about the overactive immune response with allergies. So asthma is a condition that is an overactive immune system, and food allergies too. So Reishi will either help those with the hyperactive immune response, like bring their immune system down, or help those to bring up their immune system if they have their suppressed immune response. So there's been a lot of information and studies about reishi, and it is very, very specific to the lungs.
Yes, I didn't
and
mention.
It's really cool, the doctrine of signatures.
I forgot to mention that.
You should say it. You should talk about it.
Well, just that this mushroom, if you look at it, it's this big, it looks like this. This is the shape of it. This would be the fruiting body. And it looks like our lungs, but also our heart. And a doctrine of signatures is just like a classic old way of looking at a plant, and what sets it apart from others could be what it could be signifying, could do for us.
Totally.
And Joe at Creator's Garden does a really beautiful way of explaining plants. So you should go follow him and listen to everything he has to say about plants.
So they have found that it reduces inflammation in the lungs because I have to say the inflammation spiel, which is inflammation is a whole host of different things in your body. Like all those things I mentioned with the lymphatic system and the immune system, they're all different ways and things that cause immune disorders or immune reactions. So specifically, reishi increases the activity of helper T cells in the lungs, particularly like in the immune airways, and particularly with allergies as well. So if you have allergies, if you have lung issues, and this herb is definitely for you, maybe. And it is also like some people just use reishi as a general health and immune tonic to like kind of just keep constant overall wellness in their body. I wouldn't. I mean, that's just not my thing. Like I'm sure a bunch of herbalists would disagree with me, but my idea is like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But also like when we're having threats to our body and our threats to our health, that is maybe a point where you'd consider medicine, even though you're not already sick, like COVID-19. Help increase your body's immunity in times like this. But generally, if we don't have a large threat in our world, and if we don't have any kind of disorders we're trying to heal, like I just say, you don't need the medicine. Medicine is medicine. And it's around for when you need it, which is why we get into things like over harvesting, right?
I was just going to thank you for highlighting this approach and like sticking to that, because it is such like a more sustainable approach to herbalism.
Totally. Like having a panic attack, have some motherwort. Go for
Grows
it.
everywhere.
Yeah. Like, if you have a suppressed immune system or you have an autoimmune condition, you suffer from asthma, take some medicine, take some reishi. But if you're healthy and well, you don't need anything. You're very lucky. Yeah, and also I will say, like, in cases where you have frequent infections or frequent illnesses, you might want to consider taking an immune boosting herb. So specifically, it's really cool. There's been, like Sherry-Ann said, there's been a ton of studies and there's a ton of information out there about how reishi works with cancer. And it's so profound the way that it acts on cancer that it's like super, super published, used more so in the East, definitely alongside cancer treatments. So in traditional Chinese medicine, it is used in with people who are suffering from cancer. So clinical studies, I'm going to read you like this little piece about the study. So in 2010, they used a water-soluble extract from cultured reishi. That's really important, water-soluble. In patients with colorectal adenomas. So colorectal adenomas, I think that's like the beginnings of cancer, like in your colon. And then they would turn into malignant cancers. And by malignant, I mean aggressive cancers that multiply. And then the other group was given a placebo as a control. So you always have a placebo or a control when you're doing clinical trials and you don't tell people. So basically a group of people with cancer got reishi, a group of people with cancer got no reishi. They got fake reishi. And so after 1 year, the people who were taking the reishi extract showed a very significant decrease in size of their adenomas, and the control group, their adenomas increased in size. So you've got like, this is just like scientific evidence. I love scientific evidence. I know Sherry-Ann and I always say herbs work in mysterious ways sometimes, but I love when the science backs up, what we say. And it's really stupid. Wikipedia still says that herbal medicine is pseudoscience. And I'm like, okay, most of our medicines come from plants, so just back up.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, and then 80% of the world still uses herbal medicine, so like get wrecked.
It's
Anyway, we could go on and on about that. Some other things I'm like, I understand why people think this is pseudoscience, like homeopathy. I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what's going on there. But I'm open. I just don't understand how it works.
I definitely take it when I get a poison ivy rash because I'll take anything.
Yeah. I've never used it, so I don't know. I'm sure there's some stuff behind it. I'm sure it's when people are saying this worked for me, I like to listen to them.
Mm-hmm. Pets with homeopathy.
Yeah.
Seems
Kids.
to be really effective.
So they recommend that people who have cancer use reishi in conjunction with their conventional cancer treatments. I want to highlight that. Okay. So in conjunction. So when they reviewed this study, they actually found the 5 reasons why they think it might have an effect on cancer cells. So the first one is the activation or a modulation of the immune response in the host, like we talked about. Direct cytotoxicity to cancer cells. So basically it's like poison to the cancer cells. So an inhibition of tumor-induced angiogenesis. So angiogenesis is the physical process of blood vessels growing where there's pre-existing blood vessels. So when you get tumors, your blood vessels kind of branch out and the blood vessels grow from your existing blood vessels and then grow tumors because that's how the tumor lives, right? It has a blood flow to it. So it stops that from happening. And reishi inhibits cancer cell proliferation an invasive metastases behavior. So it stops the cells from reproducing. And then it deactivates carcinogens and helps protect your cells. Okay, so that's it on the immune system that I have to say with Reishi. Reishi is all... What?
Wow, that was just the immune system. Can we do a time check?
It's 7:30.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay. But the rest of it's pretty short. Like, it's not as in-depth as the immune system. I just reishi is an immune herb. That's what it's known for. So I just wanted to make sure that there's like a comprehensive understanding. So also reishi is known as a hepatoprotective plant, or I keep calling it a plant, it's a mushroom. A hepatoprotective or hepatic, basically protects the liver. And that is due to some of its chemical constituents. If you'd like to know, they're the phenolics, the triterpenes, the polysaccharides, important to remember, and peptide. Polysaccharides, important to remember because polysaccharides are water soluble. And a lot of the medicines in reishi are water soluble. So when you're making medicine of it, it's really important to do a different kind of method. Or if you're buying reishi, making sure it was extracted in the most potent way it should be, which is like having alcohol-based extraction mixed with a water-based extraction. And this is true for every plant. It depends on what medicine you're trying to extract. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. Reishi is also an adaptogen. And adaptogen is a very non-specific word. And a lot of people are like, adaptogens are bullshit. It's so stupid because it's like a non-specific good action on the body. But there are 4 things that qualify as or make something qualify as an adaptogen. So number 1, it's non-toxic to the recipient in normal therapeutic doses. It produces a non-specific state of resistance to stress. Therefore, it allows the body to more effectively manage stress and resist stress. Whether that's physiological stress or biological stress or chemical stress, whatever. So an adaptogen has a normalizing influence on physiology, regardless of what pathology someone is experiencing. And the deeper the pathological changes in the body, the greater the effect of the adaptogen is pronounced. So that is what qualifies as an adaptogen. And so basically it's just like, they're tonics. Tonics are things you can take every day. And they give us energy when we're fatigued, when we're overstimulated, they help us to calm down, and they basically help the body adapt to what it needs in the moment. And we don't know how they work. It's like, I mean, I could give you like some thoughts about why adaptogens work and why reishi might work for stress and for the adaptogen piece. So homeostasis is like where the body is regularly. Like homeostasis is like complete health. And when our body gets out of homeostasis, we're out of balance and we get sick, we get stressed and physiological things start happening. And then our hormones go awry because we're stressed. Because when we get stressed, our cortisol levels go off and our noradrenaline goes off. And there's like 3 stages of stress, and that's alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. So exhaustion is like complete depletion. Resistance is like somewhere in between. And then the first is like alarm of like, okay, something's wrong. And yeah, and I want to just underline the fact that when I say hormones, it doesn't just mean reproductive hormones. There's tons of hormones in our body, and like 5 of them are reproductive hormones. So broaden your view of what it means when people say hormones, because there are different ones that do different things in our body, and they're very important. So people or with stress and the adaptogens, we're kind of looking at the HPA axis. And that's the neuroendocrine system, and it controls the stress response, basically. It's composed of the endocrine system and your brain. And your endocrine system is what releases your hormones in your body. So now we're getting the full picture here. The HPA axis is the hypothalamus in the brain, the pituitary glands, and the adrenal glands, which sit on your kidneys. And those are what release adrenaline, cortisol, noradrenaline, and all that stuff.
You made it look like they were like on your butt.
No, right here. So when a stressor happens, your hypothalamus is activated. And then that's the command center to be like, okay, something's wrong. And then it signals the pituitary glands and the adrenal glands to start the production of stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. So then all these cascades of hormone activation in the body start happening. And then your physiological changes start happening. So stress does messed up things. I was just having a conversation with my friend Admin yesterday, and he was like, yo, stress is fucked. And I was like, it's really fucked.
It is so fucked. It gave me shingles on my butt.
Exactly. Yeah, like it increases your heart rate and your blood pressure and your blood sugar. It suppresses your immune system, your digestive system, your reproductive system, stops your organs from working well.
No stress.
No stress. Everybody just like do some shit that it makes you feel good.
Every day, de-stress. As a mission.
So most of the time, if stress levels get too high, your body like is like, fuck this, and then like self-regulates. And then sometimes it doesn't. It really depends. But long-term stress causes like adrenal fatigue, which is also a debated term in the medical community, but we won't go there again. Yeah, so that disruption with the adrenaline and the cortisol and having too much of it in your body just causes shit to go awry. Adrenal glands are overworked, become depleted, and basically that's like when you're the depleted zone, where you're like it's so interesting. I just want to talk about stress.
No,
so yeah, that's really, really messed up. If you're like dealing with a mystery illness, instead of spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars going to see doctors, getting prescriptions, and getting blood work done, and seeing naturopathic doctors and herbalists like me, just try to decrease your stress first. See if that changes anything. Because it honestly, it could be, but it also could be other things. But
it seems to be the first thing out of a doctor's mouth these days.
Totally.
You go to the doctor and they're like, well, it could be stress.
Yeah. And also, yeah, we should have another live about stress. We did put out a live about nervines, herbs for stress, which is really...
I think we could do it again.
I think so too. Yeah, let's do that next time. So adaptogens function by working on the HPA axis. So they mediate those activations of the hormone release and the stress response. And they can help recover homeostasis in the body. There we go. Reishi, and by that sense, it's an adaptogen, and it's also considered a nervine in that sense.
And what you said right there aligns with the creating coherence in the mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah. Can I say something quick about cortisol presentation in the body? Because I feel like people need this right now. This is how you know if your cortisol's whack right now, okay? there are like 4 different types of presentations of adrenal stuff going on in your body and stress. There could be you're tired all day and you sleep very long. That's one. That's low cortisol. Yeah. There's the people who are sluggish in the morning and take forever to wake up. Also, and then at night, they're buzzing. Like they can't sleep. And then there are people who wake up super freaking early and they're like buzzing and then they crash and then they fall asleep before, they fall asleep before they're supposed to, like 7 o'clock. But they're high energy in the morning. And then you have the people who are just like, can't sleep, can't wake up early, are always like running on high and feel like exhaustion from that. So there's like low energy, low level exhaustion, and then there's like high level exhaustion. And then there are normal people, which I believe none of us are these presentations, but it's okay. The normal people, they'll wake up feeling refreshed at a normal time and keep gaining that energy throughout the day until 3 o'clock when it starts dwindling down a bit. And they're like, I'm getting less energy. And then like at a normal time at night, they're like, I'm going to go to bed and sleep. And they feel rested in the morning. Like, go fuck yourselves. I'm definitely high cortisol in the morning and then very low at night. I'm like, I just want naps all the time.
It switches for me. And again, it has to do, like, what did you eat that day? Like, did you eat right before you wanted to go to bed? And maybe that's why you're alert now. Like, there's so many recipes in there.
Yeah. So that's just to say there are tons of adaptogens. And so if you're thinking, oh, I have adrenal fatigue or I have cortisol imbalance or something's going on, don't just take any adaptogen, because there are specific adaptogens that help with those specific presentations of cortisol levels in the body. So Reishi is like the general wellness. Am I spying? I'm sworn to secrecy. So Reishi is one that would have a general wellness. Ashwagandha would be for someone who's like, nah! And then like Shazandra would be for someone who's fucking tired. Like they're very different. So speak to an herbalist. Text me, message me, I'll help. Am I spying? Am I spying on you? Yes. Yeah, that's reishi medicine. So yeah, I would like to close that with saying, no, now you should know if reishi is the right plant or medicine for you.
Right mushroom.
So yeah, right medicine. Non-specific. So if you have immune disorders or bad immune system and specifically lung stuff going on and you are tired. Yeah.
Well then.
We have to do our smile before we say goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. I mean, we didn't have to tell people.
It just would look weird if we like, how are we supposed to coordinate it without saying anything?
And then hope we both just like sat there like.
I'm like, how are we supposed to know to smile if we don't say anything?
This fella came to say hello.
What about dosing? Yeah. What I can tell you about dosing, I'm just looking, I'm creating all these monographs for school with all the medicines. So I just look. Dosing. Let's see. So this is different people will say different, but this resource I'm using says 80 to 100 drops 4 to 6 times a day. And then as a tea or decoction, sorry, you don't want to have it as a tisane. It's not going to do anything. You want a decoction. 1 to 2 ounces dried and cut reishi in 32 ounces of water. Decoct for 3 hours until reduced by half. That's what it says here. Different people will say different things.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, like, how do you generalize that?
What do you mean?
Dosages.
Okay, so here's a quick thing that people can go home with this little nugget of knowledge. There are medicines that are tonics, and there's medicines that are effectors. Tonics you can dose higher and take for a long period of time every day. Effectors are short period plants or medicines, and they're taken in lower doses. So, like, for example, sherry and the tincture I made for you. The higher dose ones are your tonics. The lower dose ones are your effectors.
Mm.
So, for example, tonic herbs, some of them, pretty much all adaptogens, because like I said, to be an adaptogen, you have to have a tonic. You have to be a tonic. You have to be a tonic. St. John's wort.
You've done a lot of tonic herbs.
Yeah. We need some effectors. I want to do lobelia now because, like, literally this amazing tincture, I'm, like, blown away by lobelia. It's amazing. But, yeah.
Sweet. Thank you so much. We had people stick around for the whole chat, so I'm sure you got some awesome information from that. Tell your friends about our plant chats. We will be here next Sunday, I'm sure.
Talking about lobelia.
Or stress.
Or stress,
Nikki
yeah.
and I got a chat.
Yeah.
And I'm also working on setting up a herbal membership, so stay tuned. Thank you everyone for the great night, and enjoy some herbal tea.